Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. I apologize for the misfire there at 6 p.m. We were queued up, ready to roll. We actually connected. Everything seemed to be coming online, and then the feed was cut. And I suppose I could sit here and spin a tale of censorship and some sort of crazy hack or something, but I don't think that was the case. The truth of the matter is, I was on the road today. I was in Toronto. I needed to get back. I was delayed in my return because of construction on the highway that turned the last leg of the journey home from a what should have been a 1 hour trek into about 3 hours. So I was very late getting in here. The computers needed to be rebooted. And I don't think the computers were stable when we came online. I think that is really the bottom line. So because I had to sign into everything again, and we have crazy security on everything now, and insane passwords. Good luck hacking in. They try. But yeah, it just didn't work out at 6 p.m. The feed just cut off just as we were going live. So I had to reconfigure everything, and it takes a while to get these live streams set up. It's not like a regular live stream that people set up on a cell phone. It's a little more involved than that because of all the different streams that we have to configure. So multi-streaming, we had to get it reconfigured. We're online now, though, and that's the main thing. We're alive and kicking and still here. We've survived another day. Thank you for coming back. Much to share with you tonight. We are going to talk about this Save the Children convoy. I'll bring you up to date on everything that I'm aware of, everything that I know so far. So yeah, I'll bring you up to date on that stuff in a little while. What else do we have? Hunter Biden back in the news. Joe Biden in the news with him. Phone calls, conference calls, where Joe just kind of, it was injected into the conversation via telephone 20 some times. Anyway, we'll tell you about it and all of that going on while Hunter Biden was meeting online or over the phone with business associates. But no business was discussed. We'll tell you all about it. Pee Wee Herman passed away. Mick Jagger, 80 years old. 2 in 5 people think that young people think marriage is obsolete. And Justin Trudeau came for the kids over the weekend. A new video out illustrating just that. Elon Musk in a little tiny bit of trouble because of his big X sign on his building. I would say it's also time to prepare for an election in Canada. All signs are pointing to it. Joe Biden has decided to keep Space Command in Colorado. Maybe it was just because Trump had decided to move it. And Biden felt he had to do something different. What else do I have for you tonight, folks? That's kind of it. We're going to talk a little bit, too, I think, about what's going on in Ukraine. And then as a sidebar to my update on the Save the Children convoy, I'm going to talk, if I have time, a little bit about artificial intelligence, and I'll also touch on why the freedom movement continues to lose. If we have time. It's a strategy thing. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dig right into the meaty substance of what this show is really all about. Today's top news stories.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Oh my, Hunter Biden and his father Joe. Oh, and I should mention too that at the end of the broadcast, a special treat tonight, courtesy of Kevin Westphal, musician. You know, the guy who wrote that great Highway 401 song that we brought to you and shared with you. And we've had Kevin on the program a couple of times. Stick around. You're going to love this. So following the testimony of former Hunter Biden business partner Devon Archer today, CNN has published a report stating that Archer testified that Hunter Biden had been selling just the illusion of access to his father, then the vice president, Joseph Biden. A source familiar with what happened today, this closed door meeting where Archer testified, said that Archer claimed Archer did not provide evidence connecting Biden to his son's overseas business dealings. However, Democrat Dan Goldman, who sat through a portion of Archer's interview, did engage and answer questions in a scrum during a break. And he said that Hunter had put his father on speakerphone during meetings with business associations, but it was part of the daily conversations between Hunter Biden and his father, Joe. He says that the witness was very consistent that none of those conversations ever had to do with any business dealings or transactions. So as I said at the beginning of the show, these were phone conversations, speakerphone, and some 20 times in these kinds of meetings where Hunter Biden was talking to people about business, I guess the conversation then just shifted suddenly. 20 times Joe Biden was put on the speakerphone. And so the defense now is that the excuse, defense is that, he was just selling, we weren't talking business at all. Never any discussions about business. Anyway, House Oversight Chairman James Comer told a different story, revealing that Devon Archer's testimony today confirms Joe Biden lied to the American people when he said that he had no knowledge about Hunter's business dealings and was not involved. He went on to say Joe Biden was the brand that his son sold around the world to enrich the Biden family. He said that the value of adding Hunter Biden to the board of Ukrainian energy company Burisma was the brand, which was revealed to be Joe Biden, the big guy. Archer stated that Burisma would have gone out of business if the brand had not been attached to it. Archer also testified that in December of 2015, Burisma owner Mykola Zayokevsky and Burisma executive Vadim Pasarski placed constant pressure on Hunter Biden to get aid from Washington, D.C. in regards to Victor Shokin's investigation into corruption within Burisma. So we have a clip here of Hunter Biden's de facto lawyer, Daniel Goldman. Let's just take that up. We'll get that on the screen here for you. Here we go. Here's Daniel Goldman trying to defend Joe Biden.
Doesn't it contradict the president's statement saying that he never talked to any of Hunter Biden's business associates? Clearly, he talked, whether it's about the weather or whatever, but he said specifically that he's never talked to them. Doesn't this contradict them?
I don't know what his comment is, and if we're gonna, well, I don't think that's what he said. He never said that he has never spoken to anyone. He said that he had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's business dealings. If he says hello to someone that he sees his son with, is he supposed to say, hi, son? Oh, no, I'm not going to say hello to the other people at the table or the other people on the phone. It's kind of a preposterous premise to think that a father should not say hello to people that the son is at dinner with. And that is literally all the evidence is.
Is this like a party trick that Hunter Biden used to impress the people he was with?
Party trick. That's an interesting way of putting it. So yeah, the allegation is also that he was selling the illusion of access, right? I don't know, man. I think it's pretty blatantly clear what was really going on. Pretty darn clear. And here's an old clip of Joe Biden saying exactly that. Watch this. Bring it up here for you.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about overseas business.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Okay, but you've never spoken to your son. Will you be impeached for this?
Depending on what the House finds, he could be impeached, but I'm not making that judgment now. The House should investigate it. The House should investigate.
I think he did ask the right question. Exactly the right question. That touched a nerve back then, didn't it? You know what else is touching a nerve? Pierre Poilievre. He's getting to Justin Trudeau, and I think Justin is feeling the political heat. Get ready for an election. I can smell it. Fall, early winter, maybe. They're ramping it up. The heat is on. Today in Hamilton, Ontario. Well, we'll start things. We'll do this in chronological order, I guess. Started with Trudeau arriving in Hamilton, where he was making some sort of announcement today about housing and funding housing projects in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And you go into the Hamilton, Peterborough area, I'm telling you, that is a hornet's nest now. There are groups of people, you won't hear this on mainstream media, but there are groups of people there who are ready to pounce every time he comes into that geographic area. They're aggressive, they're vocal. These are the people who keep getting up in the prime minister's face, and they did it again today in Hamilton. There was a really, really graphic display, aggressive display back in the winter. And then in Belleville, Ontario, just about a week ago, as we ran here on the program, again, a really, really vocal, aggressive crowd shouting at the Prime Minister. And here we are again today now in Hamilton, Ontario. Here's the Prime Minister being heckled. It smells like an election.
Dirty cockroach! Dirty cockroach! There he is, dirty cockroach. He's right in there. Look at him, dirty cockroach. Dirty cockroach, killing our country. Divisive piece of garbage. Divisive piece of garbage. Dividing our country. Dirty, dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. They're all watching. They're ready to move on in. They're ready to move on in. Dirty Trudeau. Divisive piece of garbage. Divisive piece of garbage. 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 Divisive piece of garbage.
No respect from the fire department, I can tell you that.
Guy hates Canada. Dirty. Dirty. There he is. Dirty. Dirty. He's waving at people. Pompous piece of garbage. Pompous piece of garbage. Waving. Waving. Dirty. 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 Piece of garbage. Dirty piece of garbage. Dirty. Look at them running. Dirty. There he is, right there. Dirty piece of garbage. There he is. Dirty. He's waving at people too. He's dirty.
Why did you leave that school early, Justin? Come on, tell me right now. Come on, tell me. Why did you leave that school early, Justin? Was it because you like
dirty piece of garbage?
You like young girls, Justin?
Expect a lot more of that as we move closer and closer to an election. And then today, also in Hamilton, as part of that trip there, Trudeau made his housing announcement, but then was asked about Pierre Poilievre. I don't know if it was like a setup, if it was like, if Trudeau knew it was coming. It kind of feels that way to me. It was like he knew this question was coming at, the midway through the news conference when he started taking questions from reporters. This question comes up, and it's about Pierre Poilievre, who has been coming pretty hard for the Prime Minister, again, because an election is in the air. And now Trudeau has started to take some swipes back. This is what the exchange was like today with the reporter.
As a great place to be part of.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. You've spoken a lot during this press conference about Pierre Poilievre, and you've used multiple answers to kind of go after him and his policies. He's been going after you for a long time on this issue of inflation, affordability, and of course, housing. You just shuffled your cabinet. You elevated Sean Fraser to housing. Is there a recognition, perhaps, or a sensitivity on your part that he has tapped into something that people are very concerned about? And do you feel threatened now by his leadership?
No, what is of concern to us is the fact that there are so many people having trouble making ends meet. And that's why we moved forward over the past year with significant investments to help Canadians. Investments like ensuring that kids under 12 have access to dental care. And let's pause on that for a second. because that's something that is making a huge and real difference. We're talking hundreds of thousands of families who sent their kids to the dentist for the first time over the past year. Pierre Poilievre, to bring him up again, as you brought him up, voted against dental care. He said providing dental care to low-income Canadians would just feed inflation. Well, there's two things wrong with that. First of all, we have seen inflation come down now to the lowest levels of most of our partners, back into the Bank of Canada range, which is a very good thing, which shows that our targeted investments have actually been able to bring down inflation even while we're supporting Canadians. And the second piece of it is that so he was wrong about its impact on inflation. And he chose to vote against and to stand against and try to block in the House delivering of dental care for vulnerable Canadians. Why would you do that? Why would you say that dental care is fine for MPs and their families, and it's not inflationary for people to send their kids to the dentist if you have money to do it, but to let low-income people and people who are otherwise struggling have kids with a brighter smile and vote against that in the name of protecting from higher inflation when inflation has steadily been going down? That's him making baseless arguments, completely disconnected from fact, but playing on the very real fear, anxiety, and frustration that people are out there. That yes, there are challenges around the cost of living. But you don't solve problems by scaring people, by stirring up anger. He's hoping that he's going to be able to get votes out of it, but that's not how you build a stronger economy. Confident communities, confident countries invest in themselves. His solution on anything is cut housing supports, cut dental supports, bring forward a two-tier healthcare. You haven't heard him talk about the investments we're making in healthcare because he doesn't want to have anything to say about that. Because these are real measures that are going to be helping Canadians. His answer to everything is cuts and be angry. That's not Canada. That's not how we build a stronger future. That's not how we've gotten through the challenging times we've had in the past. Canadians roll up their sleeves and get to work and build and invest in themselves and their communities. That's what we do. We partner with people. We don't pick fights with mayors. That's where the anger that he is drumming up is dangerous for Canadians who would much rather work hard and build a strong future than throw up their hands and say, oh, it's all terrible, it's all broken, let's all stay home. No, that's not who Canadians are. So I won't be stirring up anger. I will be pointing out where his proposals are irresponsible and unserious, but I will stay focused on solving the challenges Canadians are facing rather than exploiting them for political gain, like Pierre Poilievre does.
Thank you. Oh.
Okay. Okay, on sait très bien.
Well, I think Pierre Poilievre is actually being quite right about the issues on the economic side. I don't think he's been fear-mongering at all. I think he's been asking the right questions again and pushing all the right buttons. And he has been having a real impact. It's been effective. He's rising in the polls. This assertion that inflation, the inflationary number, has been on the decline, yes and no. It was spiraling out of control, rising. We are pushing 5%. In real, that's the official number. In real terms, I think you're looking at about 15, maybe 20. It's the way they calculate inflation that is misleading. All governments kind of do it. And in Canada, especially right now, they're really doing it. Now, the last figure that came out about a week and a half ago, I think, 2.8%. The target is about 2%. That's what they think sustainable. I hate that word these days, but sustainable inflation is 2.8 or 2%. They're at 2.8 according to the latest stat. But the inflationary pressures are still there. They had a dip because they increased the interest rates. And it's not good for the economy because the way they're combating inflation, which is the result of excess money printing, which creates too much money in the system or more money chasing the same number of goods and services or fewer, that creates inflation because the value of the dollar, the value of the money is reduced, supply and demand. If you have more of something, it becomes worth less. You print a whole bunch of extra money, you give free money out to the people you want. That is actually another form of income or wealth distribution controlled by the state. They print a bunch of money that looks like you're getting a bunch of free money, but in reality, it isn't worth the paper it's printed on sometimes because they've printed too much of it. That's the case here. But they did get a decline in the inflation rate in this last report simply because they raised the interest rates. That put people out of work. It did slow the economy, but it doesn't mean people are better off. It means some people are a lot worse off because they can't actually afford to go out and buy anything now because they've lost their jobs. And it will take time now for the employment insurance to kick in and for that free money to filter its way back into the system. This is the calm before the storm because you're really ending up with stagflation. They still have the inflationary pressures there. The inflation is going to rebound. It will come back. It's still there. And then you're going to get inflation with higher unemployment, rising prices with rising unemployment. That is a disaster. As a result, maybe within a year, year and a half, as more and more people begin to lose their jobs, as the free money, the printed money, the money that was taken out on the national credit card essentially to fund a lot of infrastructure and corporate projects where they're giving away billions of dollars to corporations as well. When that money starts to run dry, you're going to see even more unemployment, more inflation. It's a recipe for disaster unless at the tail end of this they get an increase in productivity to increase the supply of goods and services, but mostly physical, tangible, produced goods, more output, resulting in more exports and more domestic consumption as well. Then you're going to get not just the consumption, but increase the supply of goods to correspond with the increase in the money supply. More productivity, more goods to buy offsets the cost of, or the value of, or I should say the excess money printing. Because now you have more of the goods, you have more of those as well. They're worth less. So just like the money is worth less, but if it's a balancing act. Right now it's out of whack. This 2.8, it's a temporary drop because of the rise in the interest rates that just put more people out of work, slowed the economy. It worked that way, but no, people are not better off because we did not get a corresponding increase in productivity. People are still worse off. It's terrible economic policy. It's like every other thing going on with this government. It's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. That's why people are getting fed up. Oh, yeah, you gave people some free dental checkups and some free dental care, but their life savings are being wiped out by inflation. So it looks like you're giving them, again, free dental care, but if you're on a fixed income, you saved your life for your pension over the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen a 30-40% erosion in the overall value of the money in the bank or in your investments. Your RSP money, it's worth that much less. Thank you, Justin Trudeau. He has to polish up his image. He knows he has an image problem now. It's really come home to roost. It is a big problem for him as he gears up for this next election. And I think he realizes that he is finally slipping in the polls, that the media is not entirely on board with him. And he needs to get to that election probably quicker than he realized. I think he's coming to that realization now. And that's why that counterattack on Pierre Poilievre, that aggressive language suggesting that Poilievre just wants to implement cuts and scare people and get people angry. I don't see Pierre Poilievre doing that. Not from him. I see other people out there doing it, but not him. But it is absolutely campaign season. That's why you got that response at the podium, and you also are now getting this from Justin Trudeau. This video came out over the weekend, and I'm telling you, man, this is like he tried to turn it into the typical, politician kissing a baby kind of a thing but sort of more contemporary with high fives and his skin tight white pants, marching through a pride parade. And I'm telling you, it might resonate with his base, but this video if you haven't seen it and you're on the opposing side, this is going to horrify you just because of the imagery and his proximity to children. And we know that right now, the big thing is save the children, right? That's the hashtag that's going around. That's the hashtag associated with the Sound of Freedom movie. Everybody's worried about child exploitation. And there's Trudeau in his white skin tight pants at a pride parade. And he's coming for the kids in this thing. And he thinks this is a wise campaign move. I think that, yeah, maybe for his base, but if he's trying to win the hearts and the minds of his opponents, this ain't the way to do it, pal. And here comes the baby. There's the baby. Wants your child. Coming for the kids. It's coming for the kids. Like literally coming for the kids. And when I say that, I really do mean it. He's not the only politician to come for the kids. He's not the only, the Liberals are not the only political organization, political party, political machine, government that has come for the kids. They all come for the kids. They all come for the kids in various ways and to various degrees, but they want those little minds of mush that they can mold into whatever it is they want to mold them into. And in the case of Justin Trudeau and his white skin tight pants, he's trying to push them to be woke. And he's starting them young, isn't he? Look at the age of that little baby. My goodness. And so, as I said, well, the funky childlike music, it might appeal to his base, but right now I can feel and sense the cringing that is taking place. I'm not even looking at the chat, and I'm sure that I am going to bring it up, the chat. Right there. I knew it. I knew it wouldn't take much. There it is. We've heard that word thrown around a lot as people have been heckling the prime minister during his various stops, which are increasingly feeling like campaign stops, honestly. Yeah, and there's Yvonne. She says the baby, a heart attack. Yeah, the Pied Piper says SW. Peter Grayson says has he been out east yet kissing fishing boots? Don't know. Says, if I had known he was going to be here. Art. Alex Rogers says, so many Canadian liberals with rainbow flags love Trudeau. Let's be honest, that's a lot of middle-class white moms that will vote him in. Yeah. That's very true. Very true, Alex. You know what, man? Like, that's the thing. As much as, you saw that guy heckling the prime minister, calling him a piece of garbage. But the crowd there was relatively small. You look at the size of these pride parades. The prime minister has support. He's going to be tough to beat in the election. People do embrace him still. Those liberals, those woke neoliberals for sure. It's not going to be a simple thing to win this election. And if someone defeats Trudeau, if they will need to defeat him soundly. They will need, I think, a majority to actually take him out. If they don't, I think you will probably see a Liberal NDP coalition government emerge from the ashes of whatever the coming election results in. Even if the Conservatives come away with a minority government, I think you might see, depending on the numbers, you could still see a Liberal NDP coalition develop that would effectively neutralize it and allow Trudeau to remain in power. Even if they allow the Conservatives to form government in a minority position, that Liberal NDP alliance probably would make it ineffective. So Poilievre, if he wins as a Conservative, he really needs to decisively win and come through with some sort of majority. Hard to say. The spoiler in this, of course, is the People's Party of Canada and Maxime Bernier and how much support they bleed off. Are they realistically likely to form any kind of government? No. Populist party, or so it's described, but no, they don't have enough. Don't have enough support. Dodgy says hurls chunder. Wilfred says creepy in regard to this image of the prime minister sitting here looking straight into the eyes of that little baby. Cute kid. Poor kid. He's got the Castro stare. It says the Ron to 222. Kids do tell him off. Only place he is safe. But keep your eyes on your kids. Yeah. That's right. Make no mistake, man. These politicians, these bureaucrats, these governments, the government, they are coming for the kids. Of course, they're coming for the kids. That is the future. You educate those kids. You put political ideology into those young minds. You wage a culture war and direct your messaging straight at those kids, and you've got them. You've got the foundation there for generations of ruling over the citizenry. If you get to the kids, I mean, that's what the Nazis did in Germany. That's what so many dictators have done. They make it extreme. We've seen authoritarian regimes actually turn their children against their parents in many cases, in some cases. Every politician in power, well, maybe not every single one, but the government, they want the kids. They want the kids. The minds, not even just the bodies, not just to stick a thing in their arm. They want the minds. Vicky says, hands off my child. Yeah. Pink Floyd, hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. Mimi says, your prime minister, dictator Trudeau is the most disgusting traitor in your galaxy. Highway Frog says, my eyes. Vicky says, even pride dislike him. Raging against the machine, says exactly, Rick. Take him out. Gucci says, don't touch my kid. Yeah, man, I knew it. See, this is the thing. Like, they put this video out here like it's a positive thing, but I knew it would get this kind of reaction. In fact, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say to you, suggest to you, that he's doing this on purpose to get exactly this kind of reaction from you. He's doing it on purpose to get the heckling as well. I think that what he is doing is using this as a wedge issue, getting people emotional, jacked up on both sides. For him, this is a win because it cements his support with his base, the neoliberal woke crowd, and at the same time drives a wedge in, gets you agitated, gets you upset, and brings out people shouting at him that he can then, and in some ways, I think it's effective politically, but it's also ineffective because when people shout and get aggressive like that, he points to it, or his supporters point to it and say, see those people over there, they are the redneck hicks that we've been talking about. The uncultured, unwashed masses. And then they use that to further solidify the base of support for Trudeau by just deepening the divide. And he is divisive. It's a tactic. It's absolutely a tactic. Strategy. And it's worked well for him. It worked well during the pandemic, where he said, should we tolerate these people? If you haven't been vaccinated, do you think you should be, you're not going to be allowed to get on a plane or a train or even a bus? And that same tactics, the same strategy of dividing and conquering, it's still there. This is going to get a whole lot worse. And not just in Canada, but in the US as well. As we get closer and closer to the next election, I'm telling you that the US election in particular, this upcoming Canadian election, it's going to be really nasty. And Trudeau is going to be hounded like he's never been hounded before. You're going to see that level of anger and that and these protests. They're going to reach a new level for Canada. You will. I'm telling you, man. It's going to be it's going to be like napalm. That's what's going to happen. And as we move into this next presidential election, it's going to be like nothing we've seen before, because we are now moving beyond the social media era into the artificial intelligence era. We are moving into a new phase for humanity, a new chapter. Artificial intelligence is not only going to be disruptive in terms of employment, it's also going to be disruptive in terms of the political process. We're already seeing it used to some degree already with deep fakes, but you're going to see even more of it as we get into the nitty gritty and the actual presidential election. You're going to see all kinds of material produced using artificial intelligence that's completely fake, and it's going to be out there. It's going to be believable to many people. It's going to be misleading. And everything about artificial intelligence is about to transform our society. We are not ready. Which also brings me to that other subject about why I think the freedom movement keeps on losing. It's because so many within the freedom movement are focused on trying to stop technology. They don't want CBDC. We got to stop it. We don't want 15-minute cities. You got to stop all the technology. We don't want the electric cars. We got to stop the technology. Everything's got to stop. And as I pointed out a couple of nights ago, again, as I have many times, so many people who are worried about the way the government is, they have a plan so that when the crap hits the fan, they're going to grab their bug out bag and run into the wilderness and set up a lean-to and escape. But as I've said before, I don't think that's a viable strategy. Well, I keep hearing that scenario over and over again, and everybody's prepping, and what are you doing? You're getting your canned goods ready and your radio, and that's all fine, I guess. You can do that if you want to, but I think the real way to prepare for the future, I mean, if there's some sort of a nuclear holocaust, yeah, you're going to want to be able to go, leave, whatever, if you need to, and you're gonna need food supplies. That's all fine. But the real larger danger here to your existence in the long term is technology, and specifically at the most pronounced end of this, artificial intelligence, technology, digital technology, and specifically AI. And I don't hear anybody in the freedom movement talking about it. Everybody in the freedom movement is talking about things in terms of, well, it's all old school. It's all old school. You're not even on the same page, most people. You just want to go off grid and live in a tiny house. And I think when I listen to people, it sounds like, to me, and this is just me editorializing and observing, the very things that people say they don't want are the same things that they're embracing as solutions to the problems that they think the government is creating for them, which the government is. But then to combat it, they actually end up embracing or adopting the very things that the government has planned for you anyway. For instance, you will have a lot less. So instead of living in a large house, people are looking at living in tiny homes. Instead of having a car, you're going to run into the woods and live off grid, which is, it's okay. You get away from everybody, but now suddenly you're living with like less. You think about every step of the way, man. It's like climate change is a hoax, but the government is controlling the climate. Well, is it a hoax? Like it's not happening, or it is happening? And either way, it's man-controlled, man-made. Either argument I'm listening to, well, whatever. You know what, man? Like I was outside today. I looked up, the sky was blue. It was kind of a hot day, but it was beautiful outside. And I was breathing deeply, and I was like, hey, beautiful day out. So I embraced it, and I tried to I did my very best to just enjoy the day and enjoy the weather. And you know what? That for me was a form of freedom. And I hope that drives the globalists crazy, because they weren't controlling me. The people trying to scare the crap out of me did not succeed today. I was not afraid of the weather. And I know that the weather can get pretty nasty. In fact, we had somebody call here from Alberta and say that a wicked storm rolled through some portions of Alberta last night, took out a lot of trees. Not clear if it was actually a tornado again, but a really severe storm. So, there's all of that. But I mean, overall, it was a pretty good day. I was pretty happy. So I'm not living in fear. Not of that. But this poor kid, I'll tell you, that kid might have something to be a little bit afraid of. might have just a little something to be afraid of. Now, that's not to say that the freedom movement is dead in the water or anything. I guess there's still some efforts out there to do some things, right? So I did tell you I would share what I know about this upcoming Save the Children convoy, which of course ties right into everything we've just been speaking about here. Well, I know this, and all of this that I'm about to share with you in one way or another is now being offered up to the public. And so, on the news side of things, on the journalism side of things, I'll share this information with you. I know that this convoy is taking place. They're telling us it's taking place, or it's being planned. We know that there are people traveling across Canada, meeting with various groups. That is happening. And they are planning something. That something is said to be ready to roll out probably sometime around maybe the middle of September. There is a person who has emerged as some sort of influencer. I'm not sure who this person is, but they have suddenly gained a substantial following online, I guess. Never heard of this person before, but they are asserting that August 31st is a date when something is going to happen in Ottawa. I don't know how true this is, and I don't know. I'm not aware if this person is actually tied in or even affiliated with the other people who have been going across the country saying that they're the ones who have all the information and are getting this thing organized. So it's almost appearing as though there are now maybe even two separate groups, and you do have this East meets West component to this big convoy thing that they say they are organizing. So you have people as far away as Nova Scotia and British Columbia, and they're supposed to be coming together sometime probably early to mid-September. No specific date still. The destination at one point was said to be Toronto. Supposed to be Toronto. We know that now there's maybe something going on in Ottawa, according to this person. That's the information that we have. Now, I do have some contacts, and I've been given some information. The word that I have is the destination is Toronto, middle of September. And the focus of the whole thing is hashtag save the children. How do I know that? Well, because I've been told, and there are videos online with a number of people sharing exactly that same information. There's also another key component to that, to this Save the Children convoy, and that is the involvement of some First Nations representatives. So we also know, okay, that there is a notification that has now been published in Canadian Trucker magazine. And here it is right here, directly in the magazine. This is the notification as published. And you can see on the left that there are signatures from First Nations representatives with thumbprints in blood on this document. And then on the right, there is a map, and that map outlines an area that is designated or identified as something of a land claim. So this is a sort of a twofold thing that is being presented here in Canadian Trucker magazine. The reason this has been done is, I am told again, that the people who have published this intend this to be a notice to not only some First Nations peoples that they want to come forward to participate in a constitutional convention of some kind, but it's also a notice to the federal government that is necessary for Aboriginal common law reasons in Canada and internationally. or so they say. So here's a closer look at the documents. Find it here for you. There we go. So there's the signed public notice, as they're referring to it. I'll just bring this back off. And there it is. There's the text. It says, all brothers and sisters from Turtle Island. Turtle Island is basically all of North America and even larger geographic areas as it gets down into the southern portions. All brothers and sisters from Turtle Island are hereby invited by the authority of the Great Spirit to the sovereign, unceded territory of the hereditary Algonquin Nation. So right there you are seeing the word sovereign, which is, I think, a nod to common law, sovereign citizen, Aboriginal common law ideology. Great Spirit to the sovereign, unceded territory of the hereditary Algonquin Nation. So this relates very specifically to First Nations legal issues and land claims, mentioning specifically that the territory identified in that map is unceded territory. Great Spirit to the sovereign, unceded territory of the hereditary Algonquin Nation, so identified in that map, Algonquin territory, to peacefully assemble and parley regarding a constitutional confederacy on or before 21st December 2023. Now that date is somewhat loose, on or before, which creates a window where this constitutional confederacy or meeting is supposed to take place, this time frame. So there's a wide range of dates that are available where this might take place. This invitation is granted under the international flag of peace. A white square flag must be flown. No rectangular corporate flags will be allowed during this peaceful event. Corporate flags, making reference to any flag that is rectangular, which, according to the people involved, is a corporate symbol, not the symbol of a sovereign nation state. And that would involve virtually every country in the world, honestly, and certainly in Canada, the Canadian flag, is a rectangle. And so they are suggesting that only square flags are sovereign or represent sovereignty, that other flags are corporate. So that is the way they view that. So where is this going to lead? This is clearly a land claim. Remember, I've told you, even back when all this stuff was unfolding in Winnipeg, that eventually this is where things were going to lead. Here it is. Just telling you. And when you're dealing with First Nations, then, you are dealing with actual land claims. A lot of history, the legal system that is employed here is not the same as the legal system that the Canadian government uses. That in itself represents, to me, a situation where you are going to see now a test. This will be a test of one view of what politics and law is all about versus another. You're going to see the government's view on this come head to head and clash with this particular point of view. This Aboriginal common law, sovereign citizen unceded territory ideology, which, as it relates to First Nations, has a lot more legitimacy than it does coming straight from people who are not First Nations or Indians, if you will, in Canada or in the United States. It's complex, but the point here is this is going to result in some sort of a head-to-head confrontation. Where it will end up, I don't know. But I do know that this is the area identified on this map as being unceded territory. And it looks like they want this land returned. And this is a huge area. It includes Pembroke, the city of Pembroke, Whitney, Bancroft, and the crown jewel and the whole thing, the capital of Canada, Ottawa. It's it's right there. It's inside that line. Now, this publication, Canadian Trucker Magazine, I don't know if he understands what he just printed, but that's a political hot potato if I've ever seen one. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see how the government responds to this one. It's loosely written. I've never seen anything quite like this before. It's not very specific in the actual language. I'm not sure if it needs to be. There will be other documentation, I think, that will be sought out to further support this land claim. And the government's going to have to deal with this one way or another. And when this constitutional confederacy, when this meeting takes place of various First Nations peoples who come forward to participate in this process, what are they really going to be participating in? Well, it's clearly some meeting to assert sovereignty over this territory. Take the land back. And if that's done, then how much authority does the Canadian government actually have there? How much authority or jurisdiction does the federal government at that point even have in its own capital city? Do you see where this is going? So, will the federal government respond and take it as a legitimate land claim? My guess is they will not. They will try to discredit this, and there's going to be huge pushback from the federal government. What kind of pushback? How does that end up looking? I can't tell you. But this is all connected to the Save the Children convoy. So while this is going on, the convoy is going on, and they're going to wrap this thing up. And you've seen the other videos where they're saying this is their last stand. This is the last stand. That's what I know. That's as much as I know right now. And as more information becomes available, I will share it with you. We'll keep an eye on the various players. I have sublines of communication open with various people. And I'll share with you as soon as I get more information here. And the information is beginning to flow. And I also know that there has been, not unexpectedly, some friction, infighting within the freedom movement, or whatever you want to call it these days, with some people expressing concern and not supporting this and pushing back. So maybe we'll get into more details. Well, I'm sure we will get into more details in the nights ahead. Don't go away. I shall return right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So I'm just looking in the chat here, just wondering what you guys think of this Save the Children convoy. What do you think? Opinions? Let's just throw some of the comments up on the screen. Gucci says, I hope First Nations peoples make a big joke out of Trudy the commie. Yvonne says, will the great chief buffalo eagle replace our yellow bird in Ottawa? Operation Zenith says Gonzalo Lira trying to flee Ukraine. Got to check out that, find out what's going on there. Alex Rogers says it's almost all Crown property, 90+% of Canada. So stay in your city, slaves. Canadians buy this. Cat scalps meow whelp, says Thyko. I don't know what that means. Operation Zenith says that we're praying for Gonzalo Lira. Yeah. Wilfred Witzke says, shut her down. Yvonne de Rosier says there will stay only 15 cities for Canadians. Everybody's talking about Gonzalo Lira. I'm going to check that out. Joe Butler says, chill. Divine Intervention says, undrip in full effect. It's a factor, no question about it. It's a factor in this. Magic Moon says people are born free and not of any country, no matter where they are born. Did you take your welfare payment? Did you get any free money? You take anything from the government? Any services? That's how they trap people, you know. They make you dependent. It's called socialism. Joe Butler, again. Alex Rogers, Canadian 15-minute cities, and you can't escape because of carbon credits. You won't be allowed to fly. LOL. What else do we have in here? Linda Dwyer says, to each their own, Rick. Yeah, there's also truth and untruth. Wilfred says, interesting. Well, yeah, Choosy's in here somewhere. God's children are not for sale, says Vicky. And Peter says, how does the king feel about this land issue? You know, sometimes I get the feeling that King Charles would rather be out fishing someplace. It doesn't seem like he's really into the job. And the Rhonda 222 says, this could be very dangerous. Talk and plans are great. Hope they are still great when the ball starts rolling. Mm-hmm. And Joe wants me to bring back FU Friday. No, I don't think so. It's not my style. It was making me feel very uncomfortable. So no, I don't think so. It's a race to the bottom, folks. And that's not what I'm about. And so I'm going to exercise my executive privilege here and say no. No more FU Friday. Sorry, just can't do it. What else do we have for you tonight? Well, hang on a second here. I'm going to get some other stuff queued up. I will be right back. Well, hang on a second. There we go. Now I'm really leaving. But don't go away, because I will be right back.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so we were talking about Trudeau kind of coming for the kids and the video and the baby photo op and all of that stuff. And you know, what's being reported tonight is that 2 in 5 young adults surveyed say marriage is an outdated tradition. So marriage expectations are changing among young people, Generation Z, among millennials. And now this survey shows 2 in 5 young people surveyed say they believe marriage is obsolete. This survey was conducted by the Thriving Center of Psychology. So you've got these traditional ideas surrounding marriage, but they've been shifting. 83% of participants said they would like to get married at some point, although 85% also reported that they don't feel marriage is needed to have a fulfilling and committed relationship. Over 1 in 6 of those surveyed indicated they do not plan on getting married, with 17% of millennials and 7% of Gen Z feeling this way, according to the poll. So this report found that the cost and current economy appear to be a barrier for young adults. 73% said they felt it's just too darn expensive to get married. There are some cities that see less married couples living together than in others. In places like Seattle, Spokane, Washington, Ohio, or Toledo, Ohio, rather. They have the most unmarried couples living together, while in the Midwest, places like Cleveland, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Madison, Wisconsin, they're all in the top 10 places with the least number of unmarried couples living together. As for, why do couples move in together? Over half of them, 54%, said it was related to finances, while 85% said they moved in because they wanted to. 60% of those surveyed moved in together after dating a year or less. And nearly 1 in 5 share a bank account with their partner that they live with, and around 1 in 6 share a credit card. But living costs are not always split equal, with half of the participants saying that they don't split their mortgage or rent equally. So it's about finance, it's about all these issues, but you know what it really is? It's really more about the culture war. It's about changing attitudes. These young people, the government got a hold of them when they were kids, younger kids, and started to drive messaging, cultural messaging into their brains, not just at school, but through television, radio, music, books, films, and most significantly for these generations, social media. Molding the minds. This social media everything social, this is the stuff. This is the most powerful medium created by mankind so far. And as I indicated, New disruptive technology is already here. Already, we are now entering the next chapter with artificial intelligence. As I said, I just showed you that story a few nights ago of that family, really like a mother, a sister, and a young 14-year-old boy, the son of the one woman. They got freaked out because of everything going on with the pandemic and the lockdowns and the vaccines and the CBDCs and 50-minute cities and blah. They said, "That's it, we're out of here." And they took off in Colorado. They went and lived off grid, decided they were going to go live in the wilderness. And that's what they did. And they were found exactly like I just described. And I've heard so many people say they want to do this. They basically built a lean-to type shelter in the wilderness, and they were trying to heat it with twigs in tin cans. And they just found their partially mummified remains because they all died. They basically froze and starved to death. They died. They got so afraid that they didn't want to, they were afraid of living in the city. I don't know, man. Like, that's not just the government doing that. That's people on the side that they're supposed to, there's people who are supposed to be on their side. That's them scaring the crap out of them too. So they're getting a double whammy. Like I said, man, it's a huge psyop because you have so many political forces engaging in this information overload, this information war that is literally driving people nuts to the point where we've actually got people who ran into the woods and died as a result of all of this. That saddens me. I find that very, very concerning. That's not a good strategy. That's not a winning strategy. The point that I'm making is you're not going to stop the technology. It's unstoppable. It's here. And the pace of its development is exponential. The way it is changing our society is unprecedented. And the speed at which it is doing it is unprecedented. It is extremely disruptive. It's going to displace so many people in their jobs. People are going to need to learn how to adapt. And we all need to figure out how to live with it. And if we get really smart, learn to use it. Not be afraid of it and run away from it and go live in the pre-industrial era. The other side, the people on the other side of that side and that side and this side, they're embracing the technology. They've got all that power. If you don't adapt, if I don't adapt, we're going to get left behind. That might be all we're left with is a lean-to. We'll own nothing and be freaking dead. Just being real with you, man. And all this alien stuff, that's all. As far as I'm concerned, after watching all of this over the past couple of weeks, really, in these congressional hearings and everything else, here's my position. Show me something. Show me a damn alien. Show me a freaking UFO. Show me. Not one shred, not one piece of actual physical evidence. Not one. They're all screwing with our minds. We've got government officials saying they're not real, and now we have government officials testifying as whistleblowers saying that they are real. So we've got both stories. Nobody knows what the truth is anymore. I think that might be exactly what they want. And it's just enough to throw enough fuel on the fire to grease the skids, to screw with people's minds even more so that people go right over the edge. Some of the people are on the edge, going over the edge right now. They don't know what the hell to do anymore. And if this really is some sort of a psyop where some people have suggested that it's like we're going to they're going to use it to stage some sort of a false flag alien attack to, achieve whatever globalist goals that they have, or the final phase of the globalist agenda and blah, blah, blah. Could very well be, man. All I know is I'm not buying these stories. I'm not buying anything. It's like you want to sit there and say these things and scare people or confuse people or whatever your objective is, but you want to sit there and tell us that aliens are real and they actually have alien spacecraft or alien technology that they are reverse engineering. Show me. Not one freaking photograph. All we have, we're no closer to the truth after all of this stuff. No closer at all. All we have right now is what we've always had. A bunch of like dots on radar screens, obscure video of fuzzy images that are triangles or squares flying through the air, lights in the sky. Nothing clear. No real UFO shots. No, here's the alien. And here's the thing. Why is it that if we're going to find out that aliens are real, why does it have to come from the government? Why? Why does it have to come through some sort of congressional hearing, which is basically a bunch of people sitting around who you probably can't trust anyway, because they're all a bunch of lying politicians who are self-serving at best. So why would I trust? I don't know. I can't put any trust in this. I'm just sitting back watching the show now. It's like, you show me, man. You show me. Show me something tangible. Until then, shut up. You sit there and you make these claims one way or the other. No, they're not real. Yes, they are. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Somebody told me they are. I interviewed them. Yeah, well, who is that? I can't discuss it. It's in an open session. Show me. The other thing is, if these aliens are truly as advanced as we're being led to believe, if they have that much technology, if they're really that powerful, one, they haven't destroyed us yet, so they're probably not hostile. And two, what do they care? Why do they have to go to Joe Biden or a bunch of politicians with their message? And there was a guy reading the passage from a book today saying that the aliens have been in contact with our leaders, and they're warning us that we have to act now to combat climate change by changing our ways, and we have to stop burning fossil fuels. I'm like, come on. Really? Really? He was reading it out of a book. It was being presented to the public as though it was actual testimony. Like, come on. Show me. Just show me something. Still nothing. Just people sitting around making claims. Now, that in itself, that's the story. It's not whether they exist or they don't. It's the fact that we've got these narratives, these conflicting narratives now, both of which are trying to push and pull in different directions. And it's making people neurotic, which is what the media always does. And the media is amplifying all of this, and they're broadcasting it and publishing it and distributing it, both angles on it, leaving people polarized, confused. Seems to me maybe that's the objective. If you want to defeat a political enemy, like I said the other night, you don't try to convince them that they're wrong. You just feed them more of whatever the bad stuff is that they believe. Or maybe even give them information that's completely wrong, that you know that they're inclined to believe, and then really ramp it up to distract and disorient and confuse and destroy from within. Even by sending in infiltrators to help propagate that information and convince people that it's true. It's absolutely true. Now, how do you prove something like that? That's also just that's speculation on my part, right? But that's more viable than one or the other of those stories because somebody is freaking lying. Either the government's been lying to us all this time about the existence of or the non-existence of alien spacecraft and aliens and da. So that's been maybe a big lie the whole time along. And now we are getting somebody trying to tell us the truth, in which case the government was lying all along, or this government intelligence officer and these naval pilots, they're lying by telling you that it is true and presenting themselves as whistleblowers. So somebody's lying. So one's the truth and somebody's lying. I don't know. But it is enough to drive some people really loopy. Especially if you're a believer already. And now it's like, yeah, it's true. And you'll just like suck those people right in for sure. And if it is a lie, then now they've been sucked into believing something that is a complete lie. But if it's true, I don't even know where that leaves people. That might even be freaking worse in a way. It's like that's a mind blower if it ends up being true. I don't know what the truth is other than you've got conflicting information and the government is feeding both sides of the narrative in one way or another. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. Makes people extremely neurotic. Don't go away. We'll come back in just a moment. We'll start talking about attacks inside Russia.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're seeing more attacks inside Russia by Ukraine. This, I think, is very concerning. Well, it just is.
Прямо около нас сейчас несет беспилотник в соседнее здание. Просто в соседнее. Бомбят, да, точно. Рядом.
So the White House is saying they are not encouraging, endorsing, they're not supporting attacks like that inside Russia. But there it is. Where who supplied the drones? Does whatever, our tax dollars are funding this war, and now it's being taken straight to the Russians inside Russian territory. NATO supporting the war, attacking Russia. This is like, say, China and Russia, or and Iran getting together and supplying weapons to Cuba or Mexico or Canada, and then attacking, using and having that country attack Washington or New York with drones. What kind of response do you think that would get from the United States? This is not wise. This is so dangerous. This is insane. And Zelensky is saying you're going to see more of this. Folks, wake up. Put pressure on your politicians, man, I think. You got to tell them. Not acceptable. Can't have this. So close. Israel's prime minister has faced months of mass protests by demonstrators who think he is threatening democracy by removing checks and balances, checks on the government's power. Benjamin Netanyahu says his country is not headed for a civil war. He insists, even though we've seen massive demonstrations following new legislation that weakens the Supreme Court there and its ability to overturn legislation that it deems to be unreasonable. So he's still out there defending this position, but as you can see here, some images of what's been happening in Israel as a result of this. Some people not too happy. Here we go. Sorry. A lot of protesters. Not sure where that's all leading. The interviews that I've seen with Netanyahu make you feel like maybe it isn't that serious. But if the people lose faith in government, if they stop supporting government, then, the further that lack of support goes or the more it grows, the more protests you're going to get in the streets. We've already seen massive protests here. Not sure how far it'll go. My guess is it's not going to get much bigger. Just back to Canada now, briefly. Good friend of this show is a friend of mine. This is a sort of a local story for me, but it's also national and even international in focus and in scope because it focuses on the raising of flags outside government buildings. And a lot of this started, this concern about this practice, right here where I live. And one of the first people to push back on this was Rhonda Jubinville, a local municipal councillor on the city council here, essentially. And she took a position that was only, I believe it was government flags, basically, should be flown outside government buildings within the municipality where she is a councillor. The reason she took that position was because, of course, pride flags were being flown and flags for other charities and community groups, but some churches, for instance, were being denied. So the municipality, in her view, and the view of many others, and including me, honestly, the practice was not being applied equally or even fairly across various groups of people, because some groups, including some church groups, had been denied permission to fly their flag for what is like a flag week outside a municipal building, or even a flag month or whatever. But in this municipality, they always have like a week of flying a flag for different community groups. Pride is one of them. And because some had been denied, Rhonda Jubinville, her public position on it was such that she said, no, only government flags. If you can't fly all the flags, then only government flags should be flown. Well, she got a lot of backlash. She was accused of being, prejudiced against the LGBTQS plus community, accused of targeting specifically the pride flag. And as a result of all of this controversy, and it was discussed at municipal council, and her motion to limit flag raisings to only government flags was defeated in this municipality. But now the ethics commissioner locally has taken a real swipe at her, and she is now being punished. Her pay as a councillor has been suspended for 3 months. So it is the view of some that is a direct assault on freedom of expression, freedom of speech, her freedoms, her freedom to represent her constituents within her ward in the way in which they expected to be represented. They knew what her positions on issues like this were when they voted for her, and now she's essentially being pressured into silence. They want her to shut up. In my view, that's unacceptable. They may not like her point of view, but she should absolutely have the right to express it, and she should have the right to bring forward these motions. They're saying that her conduct was akin or amounted to bullying, and was, I guess, in their estimation, centered around some form of not just prejudice, but even hate. And I don't believe that of Rhonda. I don't believe that at all. However, that's where things sit tonight with that. And as I say, this is a national and international issue, and we've seen municipalities, including a municipal council over in Dearborn, Michigan, decide exactly, adopt a policy that was almost exactly in line with what Rhonda had been proposing in this municipality. But the political, I guess, landscape over there in that particular municipality in Dearborn, Michigan, much more conservative. And in fact, it's a large Muslim community. And we've seen here in Canada an alignment between the Muslim community and Christian communities with regard specifically to the LGBTQS plus issues and drag queen story times. We're seeing them kind of get united on that front, which I think has come as a big surprise, very unexpected, caught the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, off guard. And he, I think, has been pretty ineffective in trying to verbalize his concerns about it and try to shore up support from within the Muslim community, which until this moment had traditionally been liberal oriented, but not so much anymore. So this is, I think, going to play a role in the upcoming federal election here in Canada. I don't think Justin Trudeau was expecting any of that, but there it is. Muslims and Christians aligned on an issue that may end up with them voting in a similar fashion together as a bloc against Justin Trudeau. Joe Biden has decided to keep Space Command in Colorado. This reverses plans by the Trump administration. They were going to move the headquarters to Alabama. So the location of Space Command's permanent headquarters has now triggered some sort of a kind of a political feud in Washington. It has put Alabama lawmakers squarely head to head with their Colorado counterparts. They're threatening to draw the Pentagon into abortion politics again as a result of all of this. So anyway, yeah, Space Force, aliens. Pretty weird, man. Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder said in a statement that Austin, the Secretary of the Air Force, just going through these notes here, Frank Kendall and Space Command Chief Army General James Dickinson all supported the president's decision. Okay. So that's what the press secretary said. Those senior officers supported Joe Biden's decision. Dickinson had argued against shifting the headquarters to Alabama on grounds that could put military readiness at risk. So anyway, Space Command staying right where it is, at least for now, as long as Joe Biden remains in power. How much longer that will be, who knows? Who knows? 8:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What else do I have for you? Mick Jagger is 80 years old. 80! Can you believe that? Mick Jagger. Here, just look at some of this stuff on the Twitter feed tonight with Mick Jagger. It's his birthday, eh? Eh? How Canadian am I, eh? Okay, let's bring Twitter up. Here's the Twitter feed. There he is. There's a Mick. Happy birthday, Mick. Wasn't that? It's actually not his birthday. He was born July 26th. I don't know. I was hearing about it today. So today can be his birthday, as far as I'm concerned. There he is. Oh, there he's jumping around, doing his Mick Jagger thing, taking his jacket off, being super Mick. He's been around a while. Look at those lips. You remember when Margaret Trudeau was hanging out with the Rolling Stones back in the 1970s? Was it the 70s or the 80s anyway? She spent some time hanging with him. Keith Richards. They're kind of wrinkly now, eh? I don't know. At 80 years old, do you think Mick Jagger could still ride a skateboard like that? I have my doubts. A while back, I got on a skateboard. Big mistake. Had my dog and the skateboard and a leash. And it wasn't as much fun as Mick was having there with who was that? Britney Spears? Grinding? I don't know. I didn't have as much fun as that when I was on the skateboard with my dog. Did not end well. Face plant on the pavement. Bottom line is, I'm not going to do that again. It was a bad idea. Not good. Not good at all, man. Don't do that. And I didn't have any pads on, no helmet, no nothing. It hurt. Yeah. I have a special treat for you, but before I get to it, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to show you what happened to Elon Musk. And then we're going to share the treat. So don't go away. More ahead.
Fear not the storm, for truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so they took down Elon Musk's big X, man, in San Fran. It's Gonzo. I guess he must not have, he didn't get the right permits or something. So people, and they don't like Elon Musk. They should move it to Texas, move the headquarters for Twitter to Texas. He has to change the name of that. You can't call something Twitter when your logo is an X. It makes no sense. Does it make any sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me, man. Just saying. Anyway, the big X is down. It was up for, what, a day or two? And now it's Gonzo. El Gonzo. Special treat. Let me get all the information here because I promised to give proper credit, okay? So we're going to play. I've got a live performance here from Kevin Westphal. Kevin, of course, has been on this program. He wrote that great 401 song. He was on the show here. Got tons of attention from that. And now he was performing at a place called Gibson Park. And this was, where was this? He's a great Canadian performer. And this is kind of old school country. And he's got friends with him that he plays with. Mike Weber is on the steel guitar, or did the steel guitar on the 401 song. He's playing with this on this as well. And the singer is Al Widmeyer. And Kevin is playing the bass. And I'm not sure if he's playing something else or not, but he's playing the bass. Don't know if there's anybody else in here that I need to tell you about. Anyway, let's get to the music. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I love these guys. I mean, this is really good. And this is going to make you smile. And if I can make you smile in the face of the globalists' fear mongering, then I will have done my job tonight. And that's all because of Kevin and his friends in the band. All right. So thank you in advance, Kevin, for sharing this with us tonight. I just happened to find it on Facebook, and I said, can I run this? And he said, okay. So here we go. Thank you, Kevin Westphal, and the boys in the band. Hang on, here we go.
This old smoke-filled bar is something I'm not used to. But I gave up my home to see you satisfied. And I just called to let you know where I'll be living. It's not much, but I feel welcome here inside. I've got swinging doors, a jukebox, and a bar stool. And my new home has a flashing neon sign. Drop by and see me anytime you want to. 'Cause I'm always here at home till closing time. And I've got everything I need to drive me crazy. And I've got everything I need to lose my mind. And in here, the atmosphere's just right for heartache. And thanks to you, I'm always here to close the time. I've got swinging doors, a jukebox, and a bar stool. And my new home has a flashing neon sign. Drop by and see me anytime you want to. 'Cause I'm always here at home till close the time. Thanks to you, I'm always here till close the time.
Thank you, Kevin Westphal and friends. And the missing band member that I failed to mention before was Jim Otterbein. And that was live to videotape from Elm. Hire those guys, get them out. If we ever do a festival or something, we're going to get them to come. Absolutely. Kevin Westphal, thank you so much. Folks, that gets us almost now to 9 p.m. We're at 8:54 p.m. We're going to wrap it up there tonight. I'm sorry about that, that misfire there at 6 p.m. But we got things back online and up and running. So I'm glad that we were able to get together again tonight. And I will be back tomorrow again. Same time, same place. Well, the regular time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.